What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. It has been a few days that I haven't been in the garage, but we are back now because we have the Hummer back on the driveway. When I say Hummer, I meant the Honda Element right there. The last time you guys saw the Element, we did the stage 5 action clutch in it, and he's been driving it every day, putting miles on there while we wait for the last part to show up, which it showed up this morning. I will unbox all the parts we've collected for the Element when we get to the installation of it. Today's goal is going to be taking off the stock intake manifold, putting on an aftermarket one, and possibly doing the fuel pump as well too. Taking it one step at a time before we strap the turbo onto the car. Now, before I open this package right here, I want to give a big shout out to BullBoost Performance right here for setting this package out for this build. Now, this is an intake manifold I've ran in pretty much all of my cars. The Wagon has it, Project Blueberry has it, my KRX has it, and it works wonders. Great for the price. If you guys are interested in the same setup we're about to unbox, be sure to hit the link in the description below and use the discount code to save 10% off your order. But let's go ahead and just dive right into this. Cut away from yourself, not toward yourself. Put that there, there. This manifold, I believe, is offered in black and silver coating, but we got the black to kind of keep it stealth a little bit because, you know, a lifted Honda Element that's going to be turboed all-wheel drive. Don't catch it slipping, guys. Don't catch it slipping. But we got this intake manifold right here for the setup because it'll make it much easier for the charge pipe and everything versus the limp dick intake manifold that's currently on the car. And also it'll help with, like, I guess, airflow and everything to help make some good numbers, because it made some good numbers on the Blueberry and the Wagon and the KRX. In part of the intake manifold, I want to say this is the throttle body, hardware, and gasket. I want to say this is the block off for one of the sensors on the intake manifold. Here we have a K-Series billet 70mm throttle body. Looks freaking awesome. Looks freaking awesome. This box right here, I want to say, is the BullBoost fuel rail. K-Series BullBoost fuel rail, and this also comes with the banjo adapter for the returnless system cars like the Element, or it comes with all of the fittings necessary for a feed and return system provided in their kit as well too. I'm not sure what this is. It does not say it on the box. What is this? A catch can. This is a taller catch can because BullBoost actually sent us one before, which is supposed to go in my brother's car, but I haven't gotten to it, which is right here. See the difference? Cool. So we might even toss this onto the car as well too, because we do not have a breather catch can setup in the Element. So thank you for this. Before I forget, BullBoost did also send a thermal gasket for the intake manifold, and this is for the K20, which we can't use because we're missing pretty much that section for the water housing on the intake manifold. But I did order a new thermal gasket for the manifold. Speed Factory K24A2 thermal gasket. This has the extra section for the water housing, and just to compare it, let me show you guys the difference. So if you look, K20, K24, K20, K24. Let's get to work. We have the intake manifold removed from the engine completely, and it is sitting over here. Now the K24 intake manifold is a two-piece design. You take off all the bolts to the front half runner, and that'll come off the back half, which if you need to do like a starter or something, it'll allow you to, you know, access the starter and everything right there with the front half of the intake manifold off. Also, with taking off the front half of the intake manifold, it allowed me to get to the bolts underneath to remove the entire manifold completely. And the manifold, first and second piece, the gasket, the throttle body, all of this we're not using anymore, other than the injectors for now, until we get around to putting the 1000s in when we turbo the car. Now with this intake manifold, there is a few flaws with it. A lot of people are saying on the interweb and stuff that I've been reading, and one of it is the casting. Granted, this is a you know, an aftermarket intake manifold. This has a lot of casting flaws on the inside, which you can't see like deep down in there. Most people cut this open and poured it out, and it ends up being just as good as any other manifold. Now again, I've used this on Blueberry KRX, on my personal wagon, without porting it, and it works really well. Another thing with this intake manifold is the barb here. This always moves, and sometimes these manifold kits don't even come with it installed, so you gotta like press them in yourself. But a lot of times it backs out. You can probably JB weld it in place. A lot of people run brake booster delete kits, and they end up just blocking this off entirely, like I did on my wagon. But just take note that this thing does move around. Now a lot of people are saying that the holes for the injectors are a little bit smaller than the K series injectors, and it won't go in with the O-ring. Now what I did with Project Blueberry was I just downsized the O-ring to squeeze the injectors in here. Now you can open it up just a little bit more, but aside from that, take note that these are not going to fit right out of the box. One main thing I like to change out is this piece here. Now this piece is press fitted on as well too, and a lot of times it works, but the last one that I used in that car, it actually kind of like just fell out. So I went to Home Depot and I got a barb fitting that's threaded, and I tapped this piece here to thread the barb in. I want to make sure the threads are biting into the manifold and tighten down, so I don't have to worry about it backing out later down the road. So what we're gonna do right now is I'm gonna take off to the Home Depot, and I'm gonna go find the barb that I used for Project Blueberry, so we can change this out. And also I'm gonna change the barb fittings for the vacuum line as well too. These are also press fitted, and they come in the kit with the little barbs that you kind of press in or hammer in yourself. But I'm going to change to a threaded one as well too, just so that we don't worry about these popping off under boost. So right now I'm going to clean up and go to Home Depot. Went to Home Depot. The fitting that I needed wasn't on the rack. They had the opposite, like 5/8 to half, where I needed like a half to 5/8. So I didn't want to like drill this even bigger to use the other fitting, because I don't have a tap that big. But I'm just gonna make do with the fitting that's on this manifold. You guys just saw I pulled this out with my hand by just wiggling it out. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use JB Weld water weld, and the water weld is obviously for anything water based. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna scratch up the lip right here, and I'm also gonna scratch the lip up on the manifold, and I'm gonna put the water weld around this, press it back in, and then I'm gonna put water weld on my finger to kind of like squeeze it nice and tight on the inside, so that way there's no gap for water to get through. Set time is 25 minutes, full cure is an hour, so hopefully that's gonna work well for this. And let's go ahead and just do that real quick. JB Weld water weld. This is a putty style. You can also use the liquid one, which is a 2-part mixture, and it'll probably work better in this application, but you know, this works as well too. So cut off a little piece with this. This thing comes in clutch for road trips and stuff. I have the JB Weld quick steel. I patched up a radiator all the way in LA and drove home perfectly without any leaks. The fan had punched a hole into the fin from all the vibration. Granted, everything is like stiff in the engine bay. And went to Fontana for Eibach, drove it home, no problems. And what, 5-6 years later, still the same radiator with the quick steel, and I sold it just like that. So now that it's nice and mixed up, I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of glob this all over the fitting here. Now I'm gonna go ahead and press this back on. With this one, I'm probably gonna try to, honestly, I don't know how I'm gonna do that. That is really small to put my finger through. I took a flathead and I just kind of dabbed up the inside. Can you see that right there? As best as I could, and hopefully that'll seal up. This right here has some squeeze out, so that's going to seal all the gaps. These two ports on the top right here are for vacuum. They do provide the little barbs from right there, but these are really small. They're about 1.5 inches long. You take them off, you put it on, you tap it down about halfway through, and it's press fit. You can use it for anything that needs vacuum source, but because we're gonna be using them for like blow-off valve and stuff, the banjo fitting for the vacuum lines on the blow-off valve and the wastegate is much larger than this. It's more so about that size right there. So I don't want to have to use a vacuum line to use zip ties to secure it in place. It could pop off later down the road, and I don't want to use transition. So what I did was I went to Home Depot. I couldn't find the fitting that I needed, so I opted to use barbs instead, which is a splicer, and this is much larger than the one that's provided with the kit, and it also has those ridges on it, so when I hit it down, it should just kind of like grab on, you know what I mean? So I bought 2 of that, and I'm gonna go ahead and just widen up these holes so I can press those in, probably with some RTV on it as well too, to seal the rest of the way. I also finally bought a Milwaukee kit instead of buying one drill bit at a time. This is kind of nice to have, man. Pat on the back for sure, because I've been wanting to buy this forever and just never wanted to buy because it's kind of expensive. Got the larger barbs pressed in. Looking Gucci. Looking Gucci. The throttle body we are using is provided from BullBoost Performance, a billet 70 mil, and this is a K-series throttle body. Now, if you guys seen that and used this manifold many times before on the other builds, I've been using a B-series throttle body, which for some reason I read somewhere that you can use a B-series throttle body, but the downside is only 3 of the 4 bolts actually bolt down the throttle body. I've now realized that a K-series throttle body bolt pattern is 100%, and you can use all 4 bolts to secure it down. So shout out to BullBoost once again for sending this over, and we're going to be using the K-series throttle body this time around for this manifold. The kit does provide the hardware and the gasket for it as well too, and this also allows you to keep the idle air control valve. We have a problem here. The idle air control valve from the K24 does not fit the billet, and I'm not sure if it needs a K20 version, because this is literally the opposite with the gasket. It's literally upside down, so I can't even use that idle air control valve. And with this car, we'll love to keep the idle air control valve, even though none of my car has them. But if this is my friend's preference, obviously I'm gonna try to keep it, but I gotta figure out if we need a different idle air control valve, because that's not gonna work. Because I don't have another idle air control valve lying around that'll fit this bolt pattern, I decided to just block off the idle air control valve. I made this plate out of some flat stock lying around outside, and I do have some shorter bolts to secure it into place since the original one is a little bit too long. So I'm gonna go ahead and just secure this, throw this throttle body back onto the manifold, and then we are ready to throw the manifold into the car. Running into a dilemma right now, guys. I've been searching for about an hour now trying to find the TPS sensor that was sent to me from BullBoost Performance in a previous package. I pulled the stock TPS sensor off the K24 throttle body right here, and it does not seem to work, because once you place it on the throttle body itself, the billet unit, the TPS sensor is way off the mounting point, and the only way for me to get it to be close is to fully turn the TPS sensor, which 100% I'm sure that's not how it's supposed to work. And if I put it the other way, it's still the same thing. So I will literally have to go a full 180 to get the bolts to even line up. And I compared this to the TPS sensor on BullBoost website. This little inlet is in a different position than the OEM unit here. So if you look, it's like that, and the TPS on their website is like the other way. So I don't think I can do the TPS sensor right now. Now, I did mention earlier that a lot of people were saying the hole for the injector is a little too small on the manifold. Two solutions to that would be either to bore the hole out a little bit bigger for the O-ring to fit snug, or to downsize the O-ring. I've done this personally on my cars where I just downsize the O-ring and it fits perfectly into the hole on the intake manifold. But with these injectors, for some reason, they fit perfectly snugged in there and I don't have to modify anything. So that is a plus. The next thing going on here is the BullBoost fuel rail for K series, and right now we're running this banjo adapter to the factory element fuel line just for now, because we are going to switch over to fuel pressure regulator. We are going to be running fuel in and fuel out instead of the returnless system when the car is boosted, but this will work. But I will tell you that the fittings that came with the fuel rail for this banjo, I don't think it'll work. I've tried every possible way to try to figure out how this goes on with this piece here, and it doesn't seem like it's going to work. Lucky for me, I did have this banjo fitting here from just my pile, and it actually threads into the fuel rail. It has a hole in the center of the bolt, so that way the fuel can actually make it into the rail. So now that we have the fuel rail and the injectors all seated, we have to figure out a spacer for the fuel rail to the intake manifold, and I did this on the Blueberry recently. So I'm just going to take an aluminum tube sleeve, measure the distance here, cut one spacer for each side, and find a long 12mm to secure that. So I'm gonna go ahead and just do that quick. It is 10:30 and we just buttoned up the intake manifold as far as we can get tonight. BullBoost K2024 intake manifold with the BullBoost fuel rail. We have the stock injectors in place. We have the stock banjo line for the returnless system fuel system that this car has. It did click on perfectly, and this cover is just on there for just so I don't lose it. All that's going to come back out when we do the fuel pressure regulator setup. I do want to continue making more progress in this video, so we will continue tomorrow. See you guys then. Next day here, and yeah, we lost a lot of daylight. So I forgot that the homie was gonna come up here today, and when he showed up, we were literally just hanging out, and we went to go grab some lunch, and then they headed up north for their hotel for a meet they came up here for. So I want to give a big shout out to Automotive Anatomy and also his buddy Francisco for driving up from SoCal to stop by here to hang out today. And I mean, that's us right there. This was like maybe an hour ago. Gus, Francisco, the homie Herb, me. I got back home like an hour ago, and we just kind of been hanging out. Herb just took off real quick to go grab some tortillas, and he's gonna come back here in just a minute. I've been digging and digging and digging for that TPS sensor, and guess what? The box that I said was the Bluetooth module box turned out to be the box for the TPS sensor. So shout out to BullBoost Performance. They sent this out a little while ago, and I didn't use it because my throttle body was B series and this is a K series TPS sensor. So I don't know what I just said, but hopefully that made sense. Right here, this is the TPS sensor from the K24 intake manifold, right? And in comparison to This one from BullBoost, if you look, this little inlet is horizontal while this one is vertical. This is what I need for the billet throttle body, and I'm gonna go ahead and install it, and then we're gonna calibrate it, and hopefully we can try to fire the car over. Sounds good. Vacuum port. Alrighty then. So where we left off with the Honda Element, we fired the car over with the intake manifold. Everything sounded good other than the vacuum leak, which is right here. And we don't have an outer air control valve, so we have a check engine light. Next thing I want to do right now is the fuel pump, and I did some research. There's two ways you can go about it. Obviously, you can drop the tank and pull the tank out, or you can pull back this cover, and there's an access cover here that allows you to get to the fuel pump from the top. I kind of already picked at this, and it looks like somebody had taken this off before because all the clips are broken. I swear to you, I didn't do this. Somebody took this off before, and I guess it kind of just simplifies it for me. I think there's a tab right here in the middle. Ta-da! YouTube said to clean this area here so that way when you pull the basket out, all of this stuff doesn't go into the tank. And you guys know me, brake cleaner, my choice. Pop this connector off. The fuel line, you just pinch this little plastic piece, remove the line. That's a lot of gas. You want to pull this little fitting off. Be careful to not break it, and then just put it back into the fitting so that way it can just slip on when you're ready to put it back in. I'm glad I decided to do it this way because that is a full tank of gas. I'm gonna go ahead and let this drain out a little bit. From my understanding, you're gonna have to modify the basket to fit the new pump. Now this is kind of configured like the Walbro450, just a little bit shorter, but we're going to be using a Walbro450 which looks like a mushroom. So let's just grab it first. Let's just see how it compares to this one. Really tiny. Okay, so granted, the Element is a returnless fuel system, like the RSX, like the 8th gen, and many other Hondas. There's really not a lot of write-up on how people are putting a in-tank fuel pump into the factory basket, but I know for sure people are modifying the plastic to accept the new fuel pump. What I'm gonna do for this video is I'm just gonna install the fuel pump without the relay system, without the return system, and we're gonna save that for a different video to ensure we make a full thorough fuel pressure regulator, fuel system, return system for the Element guys. What I took note was where the filter sat with the stock fuel pump in the basket, so that way when I put this one on, I'll know where to place the pump, to place the filter in the correct location before I strap it down. But so as I'm cutting away this basket, right, we're kind of almost there, and I'm gonna shave it down clean with my little belt sander. But what had happened was these guys wanted to pull up. Not only did they pull up, but queso birria tacos and pizza.
I'm in heaven right now.
Oh, he's in heaven right now. That's the first time I've seen a goddamn pizza. I appreciate it, man. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, bro.
Somebody in line said, hey, you got to get that. And I was like, can we? And he was like, yeah.
Bro, this thing looks fire, bro. Let's dig in real quick, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Because either I do it now or do it later. But I figure, you know, the food's warm, so let's just eat now, and we got the whole daylight to do that fuel pump. So I shaved off a bunch of the tabs in the middle that held the stock fuel pump in place, and because the Walbro is much bigger, I literally hollowed it out, and I didn't use the provided filter and the Teflon hose for if in case he wants to go E85 later. So we got the hose looped up, heated up actually, because that barb right there is bigger. So we heated up to spread it open to slip over, worm clamp on the pump itself right there, and then I used a rubber hose to kind of make up the you know, make up the gap that the fuel pump has to the basket, and then I use a worm clamp to secure it down. So I had to cut a hole there and on this end to run the worm clamp all the way through to hold the pump into place. Got the Walbro harness installed here with the provided connectors, and I also did wire in this black wire to whatever this sensor is. Figure just leave it factory in case it might throw a check engine light for something. So this thing is ready to go back into the basket and back into the car. Just want to show you guys one more time before we put it away into the tank. Let's get it. There's like literally no baffle inside the tank, and I don't remember which way this sat. So fuel pump, basket, and stuff is all put back together, and all I want to do is see if it turns on. I'm not worried about it leaking or not, because I didn't fully tighten it all the way, because we still have to take it back out for the return system. But I do want to see if the fuel pump turns on. We do not have the relay system on here now. Oh, we got fuel pressure. We saw that line move. Oh, that heavy ass clutch, bro. Fuck. We got fuel pressure to the front. Car is on. Idling. Check engine light. No IAC. Idle's at 1,000. So that's good. But yeah, car is on. Kill it. And I think that's all I wanted to do. All right, guys, so me and the homies, we were just kind of just chopping it up. SI right here, still chilling. Herb's over there with Hades trying to tame him down because he's barking a whole storm over there. But anywho, all we really wanted to do was install the BullBoost intake manifold and the BullBoost fuel rail with the throttle body. We did just that. We fired the car over. It sounded good without the auto air control valve, surprisingly, and we just had a little vacuum leak with this port being open there, but not a big deal. Once we got the intake manifold all situated, we moved inside the car. We pulled the fuel pump and the basket out, took the stock fuel pump out, installed the Walbro450. Hopefully you guys get an understanding of how we modified the basket. You'll get better understanding when you do it yourself. But we got the basket reinstalled into the tank, and we fired the car over. It had fuel pressure, the car was idling, and we killed it there. The fuel pressure regulator, we're going to install it a different day, and we're also going to add the return system, which is going to be an external, probably -6 line back to the tank, and we're going to have to run the bulkhead on top of the basket itself. But we're going to save that for its own video, just so we can make it nice and thorough for you guys, especially for the toaster guys. But I think the next thing we're going to do here tomorrow is pretty much all of the hot parts. So anyways, we're gonna wrap it up right here. If you guys are interested in any of the BullBoost parts, be sure to hit the link in the description below. Use discount code STATIC. It helps me more than you guys know. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed today's video, be sure to leave a thumbs up. And if you guys want to stick around for the Hummer fabrication parts, be sure to hit the subscribe button. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.